I'm standing here in the majestic redwood forest. All around me are these towering trees, each one a reminder of God's steadfast and faithful presence. Many of these trees have been standing here for thousands of years, stoic and unbending. But what happens when standing strong means changing course? When do we let go of something good for something better? Change isn't always sudden, and we can find ourselves in a valley for a prolonged season. This in-between is the tough part, and it's easy to lose confidence if we're surrounded by people we can count on, a group of peers and trusted allies. We can draw strength and support from them, much like these redwoods. Our friends at C12 capture the powerful story of Lara Casey, CEO of Cultivate What Matters. She shares her story of refocusing sights and energy to grow things that matter. She also shares insights about realizing when it's time to prune to truly flourish. Let's watch.
If I have two really good things growing right next to each other, those roots are going to start to suck the nutrients away from each other. I started to learn the truth that you can't do it all and do it well, but you can choose to cultivate what matters. I'm Lara Casey Isaacson. I have a rather untraditional path. And I don't have a degree in business. I have a degree in music theater. But somehow God led me all the way to where I am now, which is owning Cultivate What Matters, which is a multimedia online retail business where we sell goal planners for women and tools to help them uncover their goals, make an action plan, and do something about it. And I have to say that I am not necessarily the most equipped person for this. I have often struggled with leadership and feeling like I'm not the girl for the job. Like I don't have the skills to lead a team. I don't have the background or the knowledge to handle the budgets that we have now. Like, Lord, how did you get me from there to here? I fell in love with the world of wedding planning, and I just thought to myself in my own small little way, what if I could bring beauty into the world through making a wedding magazine? This idea of starting a small wedding magazine snowballed into Southern Weddings magazine. And this is where God's transformation of my life starts to intersect my journey in business. And it was right around the time of our 5th anniversary issue for Southern Weddings. The heart of that issue's theme was love never fails. But for us, we knew the truth that it wasn't our love that never fails, it's God's love that never fails. And when we started to lead with that, everything changed. And we thought, how can we get this message into people's hands and hearts more than just once a year with an annual print issue? And so we decided to create a print, just a gold foil print that you might see on your wall. And so we opened up a shop, we put out the print, and we realized there was some power to this. We started to add more things to this little tiny shop at the time. And before we knew it, we had an e-commerce platform. Our business shifted from being primarily about print to having a better ability to tell the stories of women who were on a transformational journey of having an idea and bringing it to reality to cultivate what matters, which was and is the heart of what we do, is helping women to cultivate, which is to prepare the soil for growth. We came to a point in our business where we really needed to get serious about structure and planning and forethought in the business in order to continue to scale at a very healthy level. And so I joined C12 and found exactly what I was looking for. I needed not only godly counsel sitting around that table, but I really needed some tried and true business practices. And that has been an incredible community for me. In our business, which was actually 2 businesses, Cultivate What Matters and Southern Weddings, started to feel the tension there of how do you grow 2 very successful things at the same time with the same team? And that's where the prayer and the counsel around the table really started to be a pivotal part of my life. And I remember one specific conversation in my C12 group. They said, Lara, you're crazy. Like, if you were to imagine the growth potential that you have with Cultivate What Matters versus Southern Weddings right now, and growth not just in numbers or dollar signs, but helping women not just in a marrying stage of life, but in any stage of life, that's when the light bulb went off for me. And so around the time of our 10-year anniversary, we said a hard, bittersweet no to Southern weddings so that we could say a really big, emphatic yes to the growth potential we see and have seen and experienced with Cultivate What Matters. Cultivate's growth rates have been anywhere from 60, 80, sometimes 100% year over year. I look back on my story and I think, God, how in the world? Like, I'm not the girl for the job you think I am. You have equipped me every step of the way. Sometimes saying no to one thing means you're saying yes to something better.
Psalm 23 is a well-known cry out to God by King David. The language is strong and sometimes bleak, and yet there is hope, great hope found in every line. Take verse 4, for example. Even though I walk through the valley of death. At first read, this can seem like such despair, but with context, we come to find out a beautiful truth here. David was a shepherd who had looked after sheep much of his life. This life spent traveling with the flock brought him face to face with all sorts of terrain. And while you and I might think that mountaintops are where we were aiming, David sees it differently. Because it's in the valleys where we find shelter, we find food, we find water. The valley is actually the preferred place to be. In our modern understanding of God and the world, it's hard for us to recognize there's a tension of waiting faithfully on the Lord and boldly taking action. This is the valley. And if we can accept it for what it is, then these moments are more about resting than they are about doing. We know that startups fail on an order of magnitude. How does somebody know when it's time to admit defeat and pivot? We don't want to talk about the valley of death that King David describes, and yet God is right there waiting for us to give us shelter and provision. Talk about this with your group. Invite discussion about a subject that many of us don't even want to consider, much less put words to. We'll see you next time.